Multi-factor authentication is a second layer of security that rides on top of your password. And for years, we've been working with systems with passwords, so we're all very familiar with what a password is, a username and a password that gets us into the system. So, what is multi-factor authentication? Something that you know outside of the password, usually a number or a code. Oftentimes today, it's working with your smartphone. So I have a Google Authenticator on my iPhone, and that's generating that secondary code for many of the applications and systems that I'm working with. Why is that important? If somebody gets a hold of my password and my username, they're not going to be able to access my account if they don't have that secondary factor of authentication. We use Duo for multi-factor authentication often, and that's a little fobs. It'll generate a little number code. They also have some integration with YubiKey that is like a USB type device that plugs into a USB port, and you have to have that device to authenticate. It's just a second layer of security on top of the password that you already have in place. What's the process of turning on multi-factor authentication? It's a very good question because we talk to a lot of organizations and they freak out when we say, hey, we're going to turn on multi-factor authentication. So what's it going to do to the user? How is it going to impact the user? Office 365 is an area where we're turning on a lot of multi-factor authentication. So if we turn that on, next time the user logs in, they're going to get prompted to put in their cell phone number. And then it's going to send them a text message and say, okay, verify that this is your cell phone number. And then it's in the system and you're ready to roll. After it's set up, then they're just going to get that code on a regular basis when they try to log into their account. And so if it was Duo, it's kind of the same process. You're going to put the phone number into the system. They're going to get a notification. They're going to install the app on their phone. All of it takes a little bit of work. It's not just the click of a switch. There's also training, education for the users. Getting everybody on board and buying into the idea is often the big task at hand. Also, let me just mention some systems, after you've do the multi-factor authentication, if you're sitting at your computer, you may only have to do that once a day, depending on the system that you're working with and depending what kind of multi-factor authentication you have. So it may not be that every time you log in, you have to do it. It may ask you to do that the first time during the day, and then if it sits for 5 hours or 2 hours or something, it may ask you to do it again. Different systems are different. When we set up multi-factor authentication and the users start using it, how much longer is it going to take them to log in? Generally speaking, it's going to be very little additional time. Occasionally, I'll experience a slight delay in maybe a text message showing up in my phone. If I'm using Duo, the app just pops up. I hear a little ding on my phone and it pops up and there's a little green button that says, do I want to approve this login? So that is super simple, super easy, and that's why we push people to utilize that. After you get used to it a little bit, it's not much different than just a normal login, just adding that that extra code there.